shit, just pulled my mic off this then. Just a quick warning, this video does contain spoilers. I forgot to mention that, but I did mention it slightly further down in the review. But I was basically just bullshitting for about 5 minutes. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope the film isn't spoilt for you, so click off, or you're a dickhead. So I watched Toy Story 4 last night, and I thought I'd do just a quick review, completely unscripted and unedited for the most part, unless I say something really stupid, but it should be right. This is just a quick one because I haven't really uploaded in a while, so I thought I'd give you some content. First of all, Toy Story 4 looks really, really, really good. It's insane how much better Pixar are than almost every animation company. Like Illumination just literally shits on them so hard, and it just shows how much work went into the film, so first of all, props to that. I will be giving this film a rating out of 5 as well, just because I did that on Letterboxd. I don't really believe in star ratings, I don't really believe in IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, etc. But I thought, as I did it on Letterboxd, I'll leave my Letterboxd link in the description if you want to follow me or anything, that I'd give it a rating out of 5. But first of all, I'll talk about Toy Story because I really do like Toy Story. My favourite is probably Toy Story 2, which is probably arguably the most different to Toy Story 4. Might be why I didn't enjoy it fully. That's not to say I disliked it, I just felt like it wasn't really a Toy Story film. It felt a bit like a Woody standalone film at times, because he easily gets the most screen time, and for the original cast, essentially no screen time apart from Buzz and Woody, which is quite disappointing, but I suppose it kind of sums up the transition they were going for in Toy Story 3 a bit. So we've got new cast and whatever. I can't really see them making a Toy Story 5. Maybe some prequels, because they've got a lot of time between Toy Story 2 and 3. There's a lot of time there which they could just plug with prequels, sequels and all of that jazz if they wanted to. I can just see them remaking it in 10 years time or something. They definitely should remaster the original 2 as well. It's just crazy how much they've gone forward, and I really have to give props to that. I'm a big fan of animation, really. I think the performance is quite good as well. To be fair, the voice acting is relatively hard to put off sometimes, especially convincingly, and I think, especially as a newcomer in the franchise, Tony Hale's very good. I really like him in Arrested Development. I think he's very funny. Jordan Peele and Keegan Key as well. It's just good performances. At times I felt like there wasn't really a lot of stakes, but it is literally a Toy Story film, so I don't want them to be like blowing up buildings or whatever. But Toy Story, at least in my memory, I can't really remember it that well, to be honest, because I haven't watched a Toy Story film in probably about 3 years or so, whenever Toy Story 3 came out. But I always remember the villains, especially, or a bad guy. So we have Sid, Al from Al's Toy Barn, and Stinky Pete in Toy Story 2, and obviously, what's his name? And Lotso in Toy Story 3. But this film, there is a villain to some extent. It's Gabby, who's in the... I will mention there will be spoilers as well. I'm pretty sure I mentioned that at the beginning, but there will be spoilers. Yeah, there's Gabby. He was kind of like the villain for about 20 minutes, and then they actually recruit her in the Avengers team, if you want to say that. I was like, okay, I almost felt like this could be potentially like a 15-minute Pixar short, but it was an hour and a half or hour and 40 minutes, whatever. Not to say I was bored, I actually went quite quickly, I was entertained, but whatever. I'm probably sounding quite negative, but for the most part it was, I did have a positive reception. And on Letterboxd, I'll do my Letterboxd reveal now. On Letterboxd I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, which it doesn't really mean a lot, my Letterboxd ratings, because I just do it very whatever I'm feeling. There's no comparison to other films or whatever. But maybe on reflection, I'd give it 3.5. Maybe I was being a bit generous because I did that immediately after I see it, and that's what I like to do really on Letterboxd. Is I only really log films that I've just seen, and depending how I'm feeling, and sometimes I'm just not in the mood for a film, and then I just give it a bad rating, which isn't really fair. Like I watched The Favourite the other day and only gave that 3.5, which was, in hindsight, was completely unfair, but it's actually, I think, my second highest animation on Letterboxd. I think of it, my highest is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which is just really, really good. It's the only film recently that rivals this film in terms of animation, at least, or even betters. Really, really like that. But other than that, I've got a lot of crap animation on my Letterboxd, so yeah, do check that out if you fancy it. But and in conclusion, really, I really enjoyed the film. It's not a bad film by any stretch, but I just sometimes think, or sometimes thought, whether it was really necessary to add to the franchise. And I completely understand the ending as well. So this is a massive spoiler, but Woody basically leaves the gang, which kind of would have been a lot more emotional if we had seen the other characters throughout the film, because for someone like me who's a fan of Toy Story but not a massive fan, I'm just seeing now Toy Story 3 came out 9 years ago. What the hell? So 9 years ago, that might be when I last watched it, I can't even remember, but Toy Story 3 came out 9 years ago, and kind of the emotional attachment I have to those characters have kind of dwindled a bit, especially as I didn't really see them at all in the film. I kind of cared less, so this isn't really a big deal, but obviously it's a huge deal. Maybe if I'd watched them all before closer, I might have had a bigger emotional reaction, but it made sense for the character, I think, and it was still a nice emotional payoff, but yeah, I just felt a bit like they had maybe potentially missed a beat a bit, and I felt a lot like this was kind of, especially Toy Story 3, the ending of Toy Story 3 where Andy gives Bonnie the toys, that this was kind of like the passing of the torch from original fans when they were growing up with Toy Story 1 and 2 to now. So that I feel a bit like this film wasn't meant for me, it was meant for new Toy Story fans, especially as there's basically 2 characters from the original cast get a reasonable amount of screen time. Literally everyone else has about 2 lines, but it was fine. I would recommend it if you fancy animation, because it does look bloody good. It looks really good, really, really good. I was genuinely really impressed. It opens with a shot of the rain and the storm. I was like, wow, this looks really good. It's really, really good. And you kind of, towards the end, you're kind of taking it for granted a bit, but it does look fantastic. But I'm rambling now, so I'll call it a day in the review. So if you enjoyed the film or enjoyed this review, let me know in the comments. Original content will resume shortly. Just been a bit backed up recently. I'm making an Electra and a secret project, which is top secret. It's not that secret. You can literally message me and I'll tell you. But yeah, nothing really new in the pipeline. But hopefully I can do more reviews like this as well, and hopefully it's not too boring, because I can hear myself speak and it's insanely boring. But probably the next video I upload will actually be a Spider-Man review, but just because of time, I think that comes out in a week, which I'm actually quite excited for. But you have to see my Spider-Man video that I made earlier this month or last month on why I think it might not be as effective, and I'll leave that at the end card. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next review or video, whatever I decide to upload first. Bye bye.